forward to hearing you play.
Okay.
I'm all ears. I have to say, this class today has been really enjoyable listening to all four of you. You're all sounding really good, and I'm just really happy to listen. It's really great. Hey, Ali, first off, how old are you?
17.
And how long have you been playing this piece?
A while.
Okay, all right. And what was the last big concerto before this one for you?
I think this was the biggest concerto.
Yeah.
We played Lalo before this, right?
Lalo. Okay, great. And what else are you playing right now? What other repertoire are you playing?
The second and third movement.
Yeah.
Well, Ali's playing actually with the Van Symphony. She won the concerto competition, so she's playing the Orpheum on November 28th. So we're
awesome.
Really digging into this.
That's great. You're going to sound terrific. It's going to be a great show. I have no doubt. Hey, so I have a bunch of thoughts, as always, for everyone, and I'm going to kind of go through a couple of big topics and then kind of describe to you some of my thoughts on how best to approach some things. So as I hear you play, first off, like everyone else, your setup and everything, super great. So hats off to your teacher, who clearly knows what he's doing in all of this, which is awesome. I do feel like also you have a very natural musical voice, and you are naturally expressive. I do wonder if once in a while there are some technical moments in what's in the piece that slightly encumbers your musical voice. Does that feel true to you as I say that?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So, the ideal scenario, of course, when we're playing anything in performance is to walk out excited for the opportunity to share this music that we love with the listener. And sometimes when that energy kind of starts to move in the body, we can start to think we're getting nervous, right? And sure enough, nerves are a real thing. But I don't think it's actually needed for anyone to feel scared. It's okay to feel nervous, but you don't need to feel scared. And you're obviously really well prepared for this, and you're going to knock it out of the park later this month. There's no question about that. But when you're thinking about the next few weeks before that date, let me think. It's the 23rd, did you say? Is the concert? 28th. Okay, so you got a few weeks. Over the next few weeks, you want to spend all that time just ramping up your excitement level of how much you want to play. That's really it. So for me, one of the ways in which I do that in my own playing is actually to take the focus and pull it back as far as I can to look exactly at what I'm doing in a slow fashion. And I don't do it all day long for like 8 hours of practicing, nothing like that. But for every day that I'll be practicing, I might take about 20 minutes and play everything that's on the page so slow that it would almost seem like I'm in outer space. You ever see these like videos that are totally fake, of course, or maybe you've seen real videos, but like people in outer space, they're like this.
Yeah.
Moving right super slow. So I would take 20 minutes a day, on approach to a big concert day, and basically put all of my emotions into space-time, right? So everything is super slow. Just by putting it that way and gently refocusing what I'm doing in that approach, I find that actually generates an awful lot of content for sound after even 10 minutes. Just it's something that just retools your focus, and it works swimmingly well for lots of people. I bet you'd have success with it too. So there's no great trick to it. You're just going to slow everything down to like space-time and become really super keen about how cool it is, everything you're doing. In other words, as you're playing it at super slow speeds, every single motion you're falling in love with. You go, oh, that's so cool. C sharp, my favorite note. Oh, but it's only that good when I follow it with a D. Oh no, I love A sharp even more. B, favorite key of the composer for this piece. Oh, I love shifting to that third finger. Basically, that's what you're wanting to do. You're wanting just to really kind of train the focus to be in love with every motion you're putting into the instrument. And then you carry that out on stage with you. That's kind of the way it works. I think you've probably had the experience of watching people walk out on stage and you can tell they're really nervous.
Mm-hmm.
Have you had that experience?
Yeah.
Yeah, but you probably also had the experience of watching somebody walk out on stage and they seem super confident, and when you see them walk out on stage, you go, wow. And then they hold your attention for the whole piece, and then when it's over, you're like on your feet, woohoo, it's over. You have the ability to do that. You totally do. So I would encourage you to enjoy that. And in preparation of that day, the best way to do it is to really be in slow motion, in love with everything you're doing on the fiddle. It doesn't mean you're not practicing. It means you're doing every day a little bit of this type of slow work. Okay, now I want to talk to you about one specific thing. This is kind of the big topic now that we've talked about performance, and that's shifting. So when it comes to shifting, I do have a technique that I share with all my students, and I'll share it with you today. It's dirt simple, but it needs some explaining. So imagine for a second that you're going to take a trip to some part of the world you've never been to before. All right. So imagine you're getting on a plane. Where's somewhere in the world you've never been to that you'd love to go?
Japan.
Japan. Beautiful. So let's say you're getting on the plane. You're going to Japan. You land in Tokyo, but it's nighttime, and you get in a cab. They bring you to your hotel, and the next morning when you wake up, for the very first time, as you look out your window, you're seeing Japan, you're seeing Tokyo, and it's overwhelming because you've never been there before, and all of your senses are on fire. They go, wow, look at this place, this is incredible. Now, on that day, you have an appointment, and you can walk to where you're going from your hotel, but you don't know exactly where you're going, so you go down to the hotel concierge, and you say, I need to go to this address. Can you tell me how I get to this address? And they say, yes, of course, here's a little map of our area, and here's where you want to go, and just follow these streets this direction, and they give you very good advice on how to get there. So then you walk out the door of the hotel. Everything is brand new. Everything is brand new. You look at the map, you go, okay, I have to walk this way, 2 blocks. Okay, there we go. Now I need to take a left. Okay, I'm going to take a left. And I have to go 3 blocks, and then there's a little circle I got to go around. Okay, 3. Oh, no, I have to take the second circle, not the first circle. Okay, here's the second circle, and then off the circle, the 3rd left. Okay, so take my 3rd left. Okay. Oh, and there's the place I have to go. Great. Now you'll notice that in all of those little steps, everything was brand new, right? Imagine you go on a second day in Tokyo to the same place. You walk downstairs from your hotel room, you walk out the door, your body feels like it knows where it's going much better because you've already been there once. And you walk out the door and you go, okay, now I have to go 2 blocks this way, then 3 blocks this way. Oh, I have to go to the second circus. I have to remember that, yeah. And then and I have to take the 3rd turn off of that circle. Okay, yeah, there I am. Great. Now you go to the 3rd day for the exact same routine. On day 3, chances are you don't bring the map, you don't think twice about it, you do everything without even thinking. That's basically the way shifting needs to be. Shifting needs to be an effort at first until you know what it's all about, but then in decreasing amounts, it needs to become something whereby you just don't think about it, and it happens. So, like the example that I just gave you as an analogy of something geographical, you want to look to your fingerboard as basically a piece of geography, all right? The fingerboard is just one small piece of wood, causes a lot of people a lot of tension for a lot of years, but it's one small piece of wood that you want to master. And you need to know the geography of the whole fiddle, of the whole fingerboard, in order to play really, the bigger pieces like this one. So to know the fingerboard well for diatonic classical music, and when I say that, I mean everything from Bach to present day, but I don't mean some things that use microtones and more modern works. But for diatonic classical music, everything's based on semitones. And so knowing the hood, knowing the terroir, knowing the neighborhood, knowing the geography is basically knowing semitones in every shift. So no matter how big the shift is, whether it's or whichever one it is, all of those shifts are made up of semitones, and you need to know every semitone really well. So the first part of any big shift you're going to play is to know the territory. That's part 1. That means knowing every semitone. As an example, if I'm going to shift to a 3rd finger on that high D from a B natural, I'm going to put my 3rd finger on a C sharp. Practice that a lot. I'm going to practice every single one of those semitones a lot for many days. Because the more I do that, the more I know my territory, the more I know the geography. Then the only other thing you have to consider, once you know the territory, you need to know the connection in the bow. So that means that once you've figured out what the territory is like and you understand the territory of the shift, you need to then look to the bow and ask yourself, how does this relate to what I'm doing with the right hand? And in this case, your shifting is either going to be on the end of the up bow or the beginning of the down bow. My guess is you're doing it on the beginning of the down bow or the beginning of the new bow. Am I correct in that? Are you doing it on the beginning of the new bow?
I think so.
Yeah, so that's it. Basically, shifting in a nutshell is going to be knowing the territory. You do that by semitones, then understanding the relationship with the right hand, and understanding where in the bow you need to be for your shift to really be executed well. In this case, it's between a down bow and an up bow, so you ask the question, am I shifting in the old bow or am I shifting in the new bow? So let's try this from the very beginning. I'm going to ask you to stop before the big shift. Play up until there.
Can I just jump in 1 second? Yeah. So the plan for the shift was actually, so the shift ends up on an up bow. So it was basically the top note starts up bow. So the idea was so the idea was to sneak our way on a down bow up. So we hear where it goes.
Sorry. That
A
way.
little bit of that. But
So you're gonna do it. So you're gonna do it on the old bow then. So totally. These are all legit possible. You just have to make the decision. So if you're doing it on the old bow, it's the exact same routine. Now that you know the territory, that's what you're wanting to do. You need to just understand the connection with the right arm. I appreciate that. Thank you. I didn't.
It was just, it's a safety concern.
Understood. It's like driving your car in downtown traffic. Okay, so let's try this from the very beginning. Ali? Yep, keep going. Good. So now let's practice first part of shifting technique, which is knowing the territory. Let's just do those semitones on the third finger. Yeah, keep going all the way up to the D. Keep going to the D. Right. Now, in time, it's going to be okay to do the bowing like that when you're practicing the territory. But for the next little while, I probably demonstrated that way. But maybe do it with the slur so that you really hear the pitches very clearly, and you also hear the shift of each semitone really clearly. You don't need to, just as an aside, you don't need to put full pressure of the finger into the string for this. You can do this with the finger about 50% pressure. Because obviously when you do the actual shift, you're going to be doing that not with full pressure, right? So inside knowing the territory, lighten the fingertip that you happen to be using. In this case, is the third finger. One last time, just... Bravo. So you would do that a bunch, do it a few times every day, maybe 2 or 3 times a day with space in between. And then after a few days of doing that, you're going to look at the bow, understand the relationship with the bow, and then you've got it. Now, you're already playing this stuff really well, so we're using this as an example. So I don't think you should take this apart and try to retrain it for the 28th of November. But for other shifts inside the piece, and for shifting in general, just think this can be a technique in practice that you could use for anything. It's pretty dirt simple on one level, and yes, there might be some shifts that become more complicated, particularly if you're dealing with double stops or things like that. But basically, the routine will always work for you over time because you're acquainting yourself with every semitone on the fingerboard, and you're also acquainting yourself with every finger position on the fingerboard, because you do it enough with enough shifts, you've got all of it covered. It's basically, it's a piece of wood that's like this big, but we spend 40 years of our lives fretting about it, no pun intended, getting upset about the accuracy of our intonation. Okay, I have a couple of things here I noted. Can we go to, and looking at page, what is that? I guess it's page 3. Can we look at page 3? And I want to look at that whole business.
Oh, on page 2?
Is that your page 2?
Yeah.
Okay, so the part I have is, which is, I'm sure it's your second page, but it's in the score, it says page 3. It doesn't matter. Just start right from there. Beautiful, 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 great. So here's the thing. First off, if I was to listen to this and just say if I just listened to like a few notes in a row, I would say, oh my gosh, so beautiful. And it's true, your sound is so beautiful, and I love listening to it. Don't lose that. On another level, when I listen to it, I'm wondering, on a musical level now, with the intention of the composer, where is he directing traffic to? In other words, where does this phrase really go? And in this particular case, the phrase is really long, isn't it? Yeah, like this phrase is much longer than any of that stuff. So our task is actually to guide the listener's ear through this whole section in such a fashion that we show them the detail of what is really trying to be exposed, which means if there are ways in which the composer changes things from one point in the phrase to another point in the phrase, meaning he's deviating from something that seems obvious, we want to show that to the listener. So for me, all of that is in the same harmony, and all of that seems relatively obvious to my ear. All of this is still inside one general framework of harmony. This is where it changes. So I would want to hear a difference in the sound where the changes occur as a big feature to the long line. And then when I look to how far this line goes, if I keep going, all of that has now gone into one harmony again for several measures. Then that's where it changes. So I'm changing my vibrato and I'm changing my sound to reflect these changes in the score. So to back up a step, I was saying, if I just listen to the sound you're producing, I think it's really beautiful. Don't lose it. It sounds great. But if I listen to it from a perspective of how you're communicating the musical line, I'm not always getting all the information that I believe is there. And what I'm looking to specifically are ways in which the composer is changing information, usually through harmonic changes, reflected in our parts by, we usually see things like new accidentals. That's always a big clue. But we're looking to showcase these harmonic changes and any kind of deviations from melodic fragments that are new to the listener's ear. So can I get you to play it one last time? And just with an ear to those details, see what you find. I mean, I play it one way. I don't want you to copy my version, because if you sound just like your teacher's information, one never sounds best when you do that. You want to take the information your teacher's given you and then make it your own, and then that'll sound really great. So try this one more time for me from that same starting spot, that whole phrase. Bravo. So, first of all, does that feel any different to you as you approach it that way?
I think I'm like thinking more.
Say again. You're which?
I think I'm thinking more.
You're faking.
Like think.
Well, thinking.
Yeah.
So you know what I'm looking for, what I'm hoping that you can get from this is a sense of freedom in your playing. That you're always looking for whatever information that you're hearing from people or listening to other people play. You're listening for information that can ultimately make you feel freer as you play itself. So if you find ways that leaning into points of tension in the music or showing change in the music when the composer writes something that's a deviation from something he set up before, expectation and deviation being the key to a lot of great music writing, like that's, I think, a key to one's freedom as you are expressing all of this. One final thought, because I know we're like running out of time here, but when I was mentioning the whole slow practice thing for you, you probably know the name John Kimura Parker or Jackie Parker, famous pianist from Vancouver.
Yeah.
No? Yes? No? Well, if you were to go to his studio at Rice University in Houston and you were to look into the window, you'd see him practicing like this. I mean, unbelievably slow, like unbelievably slow. And I think for you, this can really be something that generates an awful lot of inner intention in the music making when you just take a look at it from that perspective and do that regularly for yourself, because it'll generate new thoughts for your sound. Anyway, really great to hear you do this, and I'm really glad to hear that you're playing this with an orchestra. This is really great, and I hope you get everything you can out of that opportunity and enjoy being on stage at the Orpheum, my old home.
That's
Thank
right,
you.
yeah. Anyway, thanks everybody for playing. Thanks, Mark. That was great.
My pleasure.
Good way to start Sunday. You guys, actually, Mark, can I just take a few minutes of your time? I'll kick everybody out.
Of course, yeah, sure.
You guys, you guys can hang up. I'll see you on your lessons next week. I think you know what to do. So.
Congratulations, everybody. Great to hear you all, and good luck to you.
Oh. 무릎 건드렸다.